So I'm going to talk about the awesome design system that we are building within Search, so that our designers can design or deliver their parts at scale consistently and efficiently. So in the absence of a good design system, it's pretty hard to keep up with product requirements. I mean, designers spending hours and hours speccing, and in spite of that, there is no guarantee that the outcome is as per the design of the designer, the way they want to fix the perfection. So what if there is a system that we can delegate this task of getting into this routine work of speccing and all that? Can we look at it in a very modular way? So we looked at inspiration outside the industry, like for example, IKEA's flat pack approach and how they deal with modularity. We started breaking down our design experiences into levels of hierarchy, and so that we can take these components and assemble them using pre-defined grid and templates with a set of display rules and come up with the desired layout that we may want to have. So we started doing that, and with that, everybody benefits. I mean, for products, I mean, it amplifies the capacity of designers and developers efficiently, and it's good for our brand and users with the consistent interfaces that we can come up with. Next thing was about consistency, and I've seen designers using different units. Some use 10, some use a pica scale who come from a print design background. None of them really work in the digital world because of the odd numbers that you cannot break a file again, 2.5 and something like that. So we started doing a little bit of research and trying to see what it is. I mean, is there some magic number that kind of help us to deliver at scale to all these devices? I took some of these numbers and did a little bit of math and started putting them and getting factors of all of these numbers. And once you see that, there is a pattern that clearly emerges, and you'll start noticing that there are some numbers which can satisfy all of these devices, and I have not included all of them. These are the most popular ones. So no wonder then that if you look at our ancient systems or digital environments where icons are 16, 24, 32, 64, and so forth, there's a reason for that, because these are digital atoms. In the digital world, the aspect ratios and everything is different from the physical world. And we narrowed down all these two numbers so that it gives us enough granularity to flex our design. And we started, scaling them across devices to see how the system can break, or does it really work across. And we took that increment of 4 pixels, which also is a baseline for our typography. And we started seeing how it can, flex across a mobile or a tablet portrait or horizontal or a landscape desktop. And because of the content and spacing requirements, we started assigning these values to certain sizes, which we can use to lay out our designs. So out of that thinking and this modular design philosophy, Ravioli design system was born. So to take it further, we started taking these basic principles and started looking at the content now and start applying that. Now, on one side, now most of our pages are made of typography, 80% or 90% of that. We came up with a minimal set of type sizes, clearly defined them and coded them. These are all multiples of 4, again, if you see, with a few exceptions because these numbers really work well in some sizes, but the line height is going to be multiples of 4. This, along with other basic elements, and we are not covering everything like iconography or imagery and stuff like that. With color and the baseline grid, we can now take these elements and start building our components, which are going to be the building blocks taking us further. So designers can just go and look what is the level of hierarchy that they're looking at and what are the combinations that they can use. And this can now be consistently used across designers and developers. So when we are communicating, we just have to tell them it's H1 and this color. And even in CSS, this can be concatenated and created on the fly. So we are delegating everything to the system and not splitting it every time. So these are other examples, and we are creating a library now. All of these assets are actually available in Illustrator and Sketch for designers to just drag and drop and create the layouts. Now let's see how we can start putting this. Now this is the experience that we may want to have, and it's a query for Guardians of Galaxy. And it's a dynamic page, and you'll see that there's a lot of multimedia content here, a lot of requirements with clear spacing. Now let's see how we can achieve this using our grid and modular philosophy. Now we took and broke down this page into a structure, and this is our search results page. It's pretty independent of the navigation or the header. The navigation can go on top, sideways. Our design doesn't change; it flexes to all possible sizes. Now we started, dealing with spacing of content. So we took one of the building blocks, which is like 52 for a desktop. This number can become 48 in case of a tablet, or 40 in case of a mobile, or we can be pretty flexible about it. And this is how the system is going to help us now with all the devices. Taking that number as a basic column, we can start flexing our content horizontally. We can decide, okay, if it is a portrait image or a square thumbnail or a landscape, we have a lot of variety there. These are some of the examples that you can consistently now start applying your design. So some exceptions to the rules when it comes to typography. We do not want to get into this risky situation, so there is always a padding on the right, and those kind of rules are already set into the system. Next was to have a visual harmony for the page. We wanted to have a vertical rhythm. So we again use the 4-pixel baseline grid, and you see now how beautifully all the typography and the components actually snap to the baseline grid. And designers do not have to worry, because they just have to drag this component, which is pretty baked in with the line height and everything in the component itself. You just have to keep on stacking in a very modular way. Next, we looked at chunking of the page, and to give a clear containment, since it's multimedia content, everything is not a same array of patterns. Some are like using hero graphics, some are lists, which are like this. There could be thumbnail lists, there could be textual lists, and all kinds of lists. So that makes our module, and the module is further broken down into components, and components have a certain way, or this module has anatomy, like it always starts with a context, what it is about, then we can have content within that, and then there's always a call to action to go to the destination, at least in searches like that. And pretty much if you see, it's a pattern of lists. It could be a list with thumbnail on the left, it could be a plain list of text, it could be a list of videos, and then on top of that, we can put a control which can come sideways or can go right on top, depending on where you want to put it. So we are further extending this to make the system even more efficient. We have created libraries in Illustrator, and we are also doing it in Sketch. Now, if there is no pattern that is readily created for designers to use, they can pretty much go and use any of these basic building blocks and start creating their own components and add to the library. And soon we'll be releasing documentation and site where everybody can go and see this philosophy in detail. And any feedback. Thank you.